It was 33 years earlier that they had gone together to the temple for the presentation ceremony. She had carried the baby in her arms. And afterwards, just as they were leaving, the old prophet Simeon had singled them out. He told them of the destiny of Jesus, and he said to Mary, "A sword will pierce your own heart also." She treasured these words, and over the years she watched with a mixture of awe and fear and pride as Jesus' true character was revealed. He taught with such authority. Great crowds followed him. He performed miracles over diseases and nature. Later she saw the opposition growing against him from the religious leaders. She tried to urge him to be less radical, but to no avail. And now, as she stood in that most dreadful place, looking up at her son hanging on the cross, truly the prophecy of Simeon was seeing its awful fulfillment. Her soul was being pierced by the sword of grief. And she didn't just know it, she could feel it. The scripture tells us that there were 4 women standing by the cross, and they were so near that they could not only see Jesus, but they could also hear him speak. And as Mary looked up to her son, suddenly their eyes met. Jesus said to her, "Woman, here is your son." And to the disciple he loved, "Here is your mother." Why did he choose to unite these two with each other? Well, the answer cries out from the text, the disciple he loved. Jesus had chosen John, his closest earthly friend, to care for the woman who meant more to him than any other. But there is a greater depth to this. According to Mark's Gospel, one of the 3 women standing with Mary was her own sister, Salome, who we're told elsewhere was also the mother of John. So by a single act, Jesus had placed Mary in a home with her sister and with his own dearest friend. 3 people who knew each other intimately, the strongest possible unit of human support for each other after his death. A solution so obviously typical of Jesus. Simple, loving, radically different, and so absolutely right. Even in her sorrows, an immense wave of reassurance must have swept over Mary. She was poor. Her husband had died some years earlier, and she'd spent the recent years following Jesus. So it seems likely that she had no home and no source of income. Her future as a widow was bleak. But in a stroke, it had been transformed, and the result ensured that 3 people already close to each other and to Jesus now had each other's security and support guaranteed. How did this come about? It was only because all 3 of them were standing at the foot of the cross, close enough to hear Jesus speak. And on this day of all days, that is where we belong too. Sometime today, find a quiet space, without people or televisions or mobile phones, and in your mind, place yourself at the foot of the cross, close enough to hear him